Hello, hello, welcome. Sorry, y'all. Hello. Greetings, greetings. We're going to give folks a minute to come in and to join us on the call this evening. Thank all of y'all who are here. While you are here, we would love if you go ahead and drop in the chat your name, where you are located in the world, and also tell us what is driving you and keeping you moving in this time. Actually, we're going to hold on the chat. Sorry, we got some ground rules coming, and then we're going to open the chat up. Sorry, we're going to give folks another couple minutes to join us. Thank y'all. I know most of y'all are coming from our socials. I know we were slowing our email game this time, but we will try to run this again. And of course, this will live on our YouTube for folks who are missing us today. But we'll have another opportunity to get into this conversation about mutual aid, which is one of my very favorite things to talk about, and to be in conversation and in relationship about. I want to give it one more minute. I think I am hoping that my signal is working okay. Y'all, I am traveling. Our whole team is traveling, trying to plot out our year for next year because we got good things coming. All right. Welcome everybody. Thank y'all so much for coming. We still got folks joining us. I do know the chat is disabled. We will disable the chat in a few, so hang tight for us. For those of y'all who have not met me before, my name is Tamika Middleton. I am the managing director at Women's March. I use she, her pronouns. I am generally based in Atlanta, Georgia, but we are on the road right now as a staff, trying to make sure that we got good strategic programming, lots of entry points, lots of opportunities for y'all to get in the game with us. So welcome, welcome. First thing we want to do is I want to share with y'all what we are up to, or give y'all a little bit of a sort of tech check-in. This is a webinar, which means, of course, that you can't unmute yourself and join and chime in, but you will be able to jump in the chat in a second. We have the Q&A function. If you have questions, we very much encourage you to use the Q&A function, because the chat in these calls tends to move relatively quickly, and we want to make sure that we catch it and that we don't lose your question. So please do use the chat function. We have the opportunity for you to use captions. If you go to the bottom of your webinar screen, click the three dots that say more, and then you have the option to turn on captions on your screen, if you need captions. So we want to make sure that it's accessible to you. So please do what you need. Take care of yourself. And then also, this is an organizing call and not a press call. So everything we say here is off the record. If there are folks from the press who want to know more about this work, and want to know more about the organizations that we are spotlighting, we will, of course, have folks drop their information and ways to get in contact with them before the end of the call. And as I stated earlier, this call is being recorded, as all of our webinars are, because we want to make sure that folks can get access to the information. And it's also being live streamed to our YouTube channel. And then it will also be uploaded afterwards to our Facebook. So if you have folks, you get off this call and you say, look, that was the best information I ever got, friends. I need to get my friends and family this information. That's where you can find it. You can find it on our YouTube. We also generally send it out to folks who registered, and it will also live on our Facebook. So I want to give a little bit in terms of some agreements on how to be in the space with us. We love y'all. We adore all of you who all of you who join us for all these calls. We are so grateful for you all every single day. And we want to make sure that we are setting a particular kind of container and culture inside of the space that makes space and that feels welcoming to as many people as possible. We are in the business of building a mass multiracial feminist movement, and we are trying to build the biggest we possible. And so to do that, we want to make sure we have some agreements for how we are in space with each other. So first things first, we are committed to creating a brave space. We cannot guarantee safety, but we are going to be an invitation to bravery. Uh-oh, did I freeze? I think I froze for a second, sorry. We are going to be a commitment to an invitation to bravery. We take care of ourselves and each other. So we do what it is that we need to do to stay present, to stay grounded, to stay focused. And we want to extend that kind of support and care to every one of us on this call, right? And just like I said earlier, if you need captions, please do that. If you have to miss a moment because you got to go take care of your bodily needs, do that. The recording will be available. Ask for what you need, guys. And we want to be able to support you in taking care of yourself. We are self-reflective and rigorous. We want to be a commitment together to ongoing reflection, to being curious, and to being in the work with each other. Some of us have a degree in life and some of us have academic degrees, but this is a space where you can bring whatever that is. We want to learn from all of what we bring to the table, be that lived experiences or be that book knowledge. We want to encourage and create a space where it doesn't matter what you have. If you have all of it, bring it. If you don't have it, here's a space where you can get it. We appreciate you for being here and stepping in and bringing yourself. We want to practice understanding about how our lives and issues are connected and work to ensure that everyone feels welcome in our space. One of our guests today is from an organization called Project South, where I once upon a time was staff. And one of the agreements that I learned there and bring with me everywhere is that oppression exists and we challenge it in this space. So this is a space where we know that not all of us know all the things. We don't all know all the language. We may not all have all the politics. We might accidentally, incidentally make mistakes in how we engage. And this is a space where we can correct each other. And we want folks to be open to gentle and loving correction. And we want to correct people without assuming intent. Right. And so this is a space where we want to be in, we can challenge that, and we can have conversations and we can learn from each other. We also want to pay attention to how we use our voice and our space in this space. So everyone can show up, everyone can make space, everyone can take space, but also how we talk to and at each other. So I'm going to pause there. And hopefully we can all be in those agreements. And with that, we will open up the chat and hope that you can practice into those agreements in this space. So thank you. And what I will do, we're gonna open up the chat. And what I wanna ask you all to do is to drop in the chat your name, where you're from, and what is keeping you fired up in this time. We know that there is so much going on. There is so much that feels challenging to all of us in this moment. There's so much fear mongering. There's so much that can demobilize us and that can make us feel stuck and demoralize us. But we want to know what's keeping you fired up. And so for me, again, as I said earlier, my name is Tamika Middleton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the managing director here at Women's March. And what keeps me fired up is this team. I am so honored and proud to be able to be a part of the Women's March team. And we are in here plotting and planning, and just the level of life. I'm just always so impressed and energized by being in this team and also by being in space with all of you. So thank you all so much. Oh, shout out to, yes, Saving American Democracy from a Fascist Takeover. Come on. Michael out of DFW, Art as Resistance in St. Paul, yes. We got Hawaii on the call, California, Kentucky, Virginia, Madison, Wisconsin. We love Madison, Wisconsin. We had our mobilization there last January. North Carolina in the building. I'm a South Carolinian, so I'm always happy to see Carolinians in the space. And so please keep adding in here. We want y'all to be in conversation with us, but also feel free to be in conversation with each other. All right. ATL, hey, it's multiple ATL folks and represented all throughout this call, both in the chat and on the call. So I want to talk a little bit about what we are here to do, what we are up to on this call today, and then we're going to get into it. So we have a couple offerings from you today. First, I want to just name that we are in a time where one of the things that we can look to, that we can anticipate is what I will say, is the dismantling of the social safety net. Project 2025 has already laid that out. The GOP has already promised to try to dismantle any number of agencies of the federal government. And so we know in times like this, same as in the beginning of COVID, that there are moments when we cannot rely on our government to take care of us, to protect us, to save us. And so we have to live into that lovely slogan that you probably saw if you were with us in DC on November 9th, we got us, and we have to have us, and we have to have each other. And so one of the ways that we do that is through mutual aid. And so I'm really excited to be able to offer this conversation today as someone who myself has been deeply embedded in mutual aid work. It is a joy of mine. And so we have two organizations who have been in mutual aid work in the South, and in particular in Atlanta, Georgia, that we wanted to come and share, because we want you to learn about mutual aid, and we'll talk some more about what we are planning to offer for folks who are trying to get involved with mutual aid efforts. But we also want you to plug in, and part of the impetus behind these organizing calls, and we'll be having them a couple times a month from here on out, is to connect you to organizations that are doing great work on the ground. We want you to find political homes. In this time, this is a moment where we have to be organized. Organizing is the name of the game, and getting in and connected to organizations that are doing amazing work is a part of that. And so we want to introduce you to organizations that are doing great work, organizations that you can support with either your time or your dollars, to be honest. We want you to get in where you fit in. And we also want you to learn some things about how you can do this yourself. So with that, the two groups we have are both dear to my heart. Project South is one of them, and the other is the Metro Atlanta Mutual Aid Fund. So we're going to start out, I'm hearing from La'Die Mansfield, who is at Project South. So I'm going to pass it to La'Die to introduce herself and to talk some about her work.
All right, thanks, Tamika, and hello, everybody. I'm so glad and so honored to be with you all, and really excited about the conversation around mutual aid. I am La'Die. I'm with Project South. We are based in Atlanta. Our work is within what we call the Global South, and also on the continent. And a lot of our work our foundation is based in Black radical traditions. And so the conversation today around mutual aid is going to be, as I understand it, how we approach and how we do this work of mutual aid, and really for us centered in Black radical tradition. And I can go right into that. All right, here we go. So let's talk, you all, mutual aid, because it's important, and it's also a term, a phrase, a understanding that we all come into that also feels like it's just a given, right? Mutual aid, a mutual agreement about what we need to take care of each other. And so that is absolutely true. And parts of where our work at Project South is based, all of where our work is based, is within the Black radical tradition. And when it comes to mutual aid, we can date that back all the way to pre-colonial sub-Sahara Africa. That there is a time where, way before colonialism happened, you would have secret fraternal association, ethnic societies, religions groups, etc., that all involve bonds of fellowship that were confirmed by an oath and a promise, and cultural practices, which could be feasts, dancing, parties, rituals, so forth. Within that timeline of mutual aid as it relates to Black radical tradition, we can even touch like 1809, where we had women, African, creating the African Female Beloved Society that had these same type of agreements around it that were culture and base. And for us, a lot of our mutual aid work is rooted again in Black radical tradition that can clearly be seen in this country during the period of Black Reconstruction. The significant thing about Black Reconstruction for us when we reference, talk, and build our mutual aid societies at Project South throughout the South is that these were parallel organizing infrastructures that were very intentional to rebuild society from the bottom up. That's different because this is post-colonialism. And so we're looking at our cultures, African people that are before 1865. So we date that time of Black Reconstruction before that, looking at about 1860, but building parallel infrastructures, parallel communities that could take care of each other, that were also fundamentally understanding that what we are building is in response to what is being denied to us right now within our current system. And so that same vein is how we look at mutual aid and how we build mutual aid communities even today. In terms of that work, where we're located, Malk at 9 Gammon is one of many mutual aid systems that we are a part of. We are part of a network called Southern Movement Assembly. And in 2016, Southern Movement Assembly came out of this assembly that happens annually with organizations across the South all moving together. This was coming into Trump's term. We all came back out with what we had to focus on now is building a mutual aid network throughout the South that could contend with the moment and build parallel infrastructure societies that redesign and rebuild what would hold us at the moment. This was in 2016. In 2017, we named the building that we have been operating and anchoring with Hunger Coalition of Atlanta for years. Tamika, I'm sure, knows this and predates me coming into Project South. But we named our building a Mutual Aid Liberation Center from from the point that I brought from Black radical tradition standpoint of parallel organizing, that we needed to build a community and rebuild a community that could withstand the disasters that were happening around us, that could have response to man-made and natural disasters that were happening, that could respond and become sanctuary for our folks, especially our Black folks in our neighborhoods, including ourselves, but that could also build up the vision that community wanted to see, where we could take care of each other and not depend on an outside entity. And so that is where our work is really embedded into. With how we're doing that, the mutual aid liberation centers, as I said, were envisioned by hundreds of organizers across the South that also put this in the blueprint that all of you all could have access to. So just to say that, we'll put the websites in the chat. That SMA website is southtosouth.org. Project South is projectsouth.org. But what you'll be able to see is history around this, how we came to be, and what the goal was. We partnership with Hunger Coalition to facilitate this mutual aid center. And importantly enough, the neighborhood that we are situated in is called Brownsville. Brownsville neighborhood set the foundation for not just our work as a mutual aid center, but how we remember historical narrative, how we remembered how we were able to reorganize ourselves, and importantly, where our building is, that community, Brownsville, was created during Black Reconstruction. This was a settlement community that also had wellness, that had education, that had schools, that had libraries in it. And so I'm bringing that up because it wasn't just creating a mutual aid center that could speak to the moment. It was that the foundation of our mutual aid work was rooted in a lineage, was rooted in legacy, and was rooted in a continuum of people building parallel infrastructure. And that is so important because, in the vein of building mutual aid liberation centers, not just mutual aid centers, but we got to add the word liberation in it. It means that these things had to be constructed with not just answering a moment, but with the vision of the future in mind. And so that's what happened. And that is what we are currently right now working in within Atlanta, but as part of a connection of mutual aid centers that are across the South. I think the last thing, just in terms of mutual aid and even some of that history, is that a time frame to really study and that we really do intentional work around is the period of Black Reconstruction. Because so much of what was happening and what communities were having to hold at the time of Black Reconstruction, right, is where we can see a repeat now. We can see societies in those same things that were restricted, those same conditions that African folks were in and were withstanding. We can see a time repeating. And so we go back to not just see what the blueprints were for these communities, these parallel infrastructure communities that were built across this country, not just to study it, but to also have inspiration for what is happening now. What do we do now? And so, where we are in a lot of our work is really fighting the multiple forms of oppression through community organizing. But in that fight, we are building liberation. So it can't just be a response to the fight of what we don't like. It has to be building. And for us, when we talk mutual aid, that building has to be in principle, in practice, with the cultures, with the practices, with the legacy of the people that are there. And that is something that we are fundamentally, I guess I would say, married to, that this becomes a guideline for how we check our work. Are we just building because we mad? Are we just building because we don't like what's happening? Are we just building because the spirit of where we building from is like, oh, you're going to do this to us, so we got you. We're going to build something different. We're saying no. What we are building is mutual aid parallel societies that will contend, but that has the vision of building what we want to see out front. And because that vision is there, we have to be able to look, to research, to understand everything that is happening around us in order to build what we need. So, for example, we know that there is a wave of healthcare opportunities, but also strategic denials of healthcare. Hospitals are leaving rural areas. We have lack of access to have basic healthcare needs. If we look at Black Reconstruction for us, these are also periods where we had Black doctors, where we had nurses, where we had holistic medicines, where we had practices, where we had midwives before it was labeled and named and restricted unless you were certified. That for us, that is the spirit in which mutual aid has to be built from. If it is not, then we will be building mutual aid societies that are not mute, that the only mutual part is that we agree on what we don't like. That means that we have not built on the vision of not just what we need, but what we know our future generations would need. That is extremely important. And so that is the vein that our work continues to be on, that we build with Hunger Coalition, that we build with multiple mutual aid liberation centers across the South that are all rooted in this Black radical tradition of not just expressing grievances, but saying, how are we going to free ourselves from these bounds that are holding us? And how do we do it in a way that we can be proud about it 100 years from now? That we can leave a blueprint that says we're going to continue to build and that we're not back at a conversation of reconstruction. So that is how our spirit of mutual aid is. And I am so excited that we're having this conversation because I think we all need to be having this type of conversations in our collectives, in our groups, with our people. And it has to involve a component of research, y'all. Because we don't have to build from scratch if our ancestors, all of our ancestors, have already learned the lessons and they can pass it down. And now we just gonna add our new flavor of what we know now in contending with. Because even though this moment may feel new, it is not new. There are new people in it. But the same blueprint for mutual aid liberation centers under Black reconstructions that dealt with Black radical traditions is the same blueprint. And the same blueprint for how to oppress, how to deny, how to separate a group of people for the purpose of gaining ultimate power, which is where we made, is the same blueprint. We just got new tactics in it. And what we're saying with our mutual aid work is we can lean on that, add our new tactics with it, but we are concentrating on building, and in our building, we'll be responding, but we are creating parallel infrastructure societies that don't have to contend with this because we've built so much that the norm becomes the societies. The norms becomes the new societies that we are envisioning. And so that is, you all, really a basis and a ground for the mutual aid work that we're doing. Some of the history, but it's so deep, it's so much. There's so many studies and societies and communities that we can learn from, and we'll definitely share some of those links. And I'm so excited about the opportunity to keep having this conversation and to build, to keep looking towards what we're building, y'all. Not just responding, but what we're building.
Thank you so much, La'Die. Oh my gosh, everybody, please use your reaction emojis to give love to La'Die and the work that they are up to. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen. And we will come to the Q&A. We have one more presentation, and then we will do all the Q&A. The link to Project South is in the chat. And then we'll also have some opportunity for folks to, we'll invite La'Die once more to share how you can find them, where you can get in touch with them, how you can get connected to the work, because I know folks are, we know that folks are engaged in and interested in getting plugged in Atlanta and across the South. All right. So the second presenter that we have, is very, very near and dear to my heart. I have the great pleasure of being a co-founder of the Metro Atlanta Mutual Aid Fund. And so I'm extremely excited to be able to share some of the information, some of the context and work of Mama Fund with all of you. I will say, however, that we don't have a live speaker for Mama Fund because the work of Mama Fund is being recognized tonight at the Good Trouble Awards here in Atlanta. So they are getting an award for the work that they have been up to for the past 4 years. And so they could not be here live, but they did send a video that we're going to share with all of you so you can learn more about their work and how they approach mutual aid. So we're going to start that.
So in March of 2020, in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic, Atlanta organizers were like, what's going on? What is we gonna do? And a group of us came together on a Facebook page, throwing out different ideas that really centered around like the needs of our people, our needs and everyone's needs during that time. There was businesses shut down. Y'all know what was going on. It was crazy, and we didn't know when it was gonna end. So we knew, through that Facebook page, which ended up becoming a concrete group of like over 10, 15 people, that we need to get resources to the masses. And we knew we had to cover Black folks and people of colors behinds during this time. We got to cover our folks. So, we decided to start a mutual aid fund from scratch. So there was people that didn't even know each other working together. We had to, yeah, in a virtual new world, right? Only couldn't meet up or anything. So starting with like the governance system, we had to create that from scratch. How do we make decisions collectively? How do we do this democratically? And yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah.
And so over the last few years, we've raised over $1 million. We have given out almost $800,000 in just direct funds to people who needed it. We were actually really trying to figure out how to get the money to our people. We started an application process that really asked people not to tell their trauma stories at all, but to really just say, what is it that you need? And we know that most people have a hard time just saying what they need, but people came in droves. We had a selection process that had a lot of us in tears because there are a lot of people in need. But we were able to hopefully, we believe that we have supported many families to be able to stay in their homes, keep a roof over their heads. But some of the biggest shocking things about the application was that people were asking for things as little as $30 just to be able to afford their prescriptions, $200 to be able to stay in their apartment, or to just have one night at an extended hotel or extended motel stay. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure to do is and for people to understand, is that the systems were broken and we were filling a gap, really creating alternative systems through direct response, but we had bigger goals in mind as well. And so over the last couple years as well, we've been lucky to have the Organization for Human Rights and Democracy be our fiscal sponsor and really support us in this transition as we moved a lot of money, but also as we moved into a new phase as well.
Mama Fund's second phase of mutual aid is time banking. So right now we're having intimate community meetings and gatherings where strangers come together and become community. We've had several gatherings where people kind of get vulnerable and talk about what they need, and they also feel confident and strengthened understanding what resources that they have to offer. Often at the end of our meetings, people say, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how much I had to offer my community. And they feel strengthened as individuals and feel connected to some people that they had never even met before. So we are formalizing this time banking process, and we would love for more Atlantans to join. Get a lot of stuff.
So the beautiful thing is on the applications for Mama Fund, we asked the participants, what did they have to offer community? If, there was a need to exchange goods and services, what could they offer? And we did all that in anticipation of what's now actually happening after the pandemic, as Carissa was talking about, the offers and needs and building this time bank.
So we're really looking forward to building out a time bank that can have 500 people really exchanging skills and resources with each other throughout Atlanta, and building like a network of community. So we look forward to everybody joining our time bank in 2025.
All right, y'all. Did you see my folks? They look so pretty. They all dressed up for the award ceremony. And so yeah, please y'all show love. So that was Abiodun Henderson, Carissa Vaughn, Sanaa. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on folks' last name. Danielle. Anyway, the team from Mama Fun, who is amazing. And as you heard, like we definitely spent a good amount of time going through thousands of applications. We would open up the application process and hit our maximum within minutes. of how many applicants we could take, and we tried to move money to legitimately almost every person that had a need. And as Danielle was saying, everything from a few dollars for medication, to folks who are like, hey, I'm living in my car right now. Can y'all give me some money so I can afford gas, so I can have heat in my car for where I'm living, And so we would say, hey, actually, we're gonna move enough money for you to do a first month's rent and the deposit, so we can get you about your car, And so those are the kinds of things that or we're going to connect you to other resources in the community, so we can help you get housing. And so those are the kinds of things that Mama Fund is up to. And honestly, I've been in the movement for a long time, and it's one of the proudest things one of the things I'm most proud of in my time, in my decades in the movement. So I'm going to be quiet. I know that folks have questions. I will for sure drop in the chat contact information for Mama Fund. But we have a couple questions already in the chat, and would love for folks, if you have questions, use the Q&A function so we can capture them. The first question is for you, La'Die. People want to know, I'm going to turn the spotlight off so we can, or actually maybe I will just have us both be on spotlight. That way we can, our behind the scenes friends don't have to be on the camera. Yeah, so the first question here is, how do people find out about the mutual aid and liberation societies that y'all have? How do people connect to them? How do they connect to the work that y'all are up to, especially in rural communities?
I love the question around rural communities, y'all. I'm a country girl from South Georgia, and often talk about this process and these centers within.
La'Die, can you run back a little bit? You froze for a second.
Okay, I don't know where I froze, but I always love to plug in. I'm a country girl. So I love the question around rural communities. So a few things. One is that south2south.org website, which is connected to the Southern Movement Assembly, is where a lot of the mutual aid centers that are across the South, that's in this network that I said came out of a blueprint created in 2016, are part of the Southern Movement Assembly. And you can also find out where they are there. Another thing is, I would say one of the processes that we use is assembly process. And not to go deep into that, but a lot of times that process is what leads to being able to address what is needed. So it's a process that I'm currently using with a group of folks where I'm from, which is South Georgia, rural Georgia, but that can lead to creating these systems of mutual aid. If there's not a center there, y'all know how it is. Somebody there is the auntie of the community that's been holding down the community. Old school, somebody's church is still up, that gives food, that opens up the food pantries, that where I'm from, there is still a nurse that travels. and comes by. So I'm saying that because even if you're like, I don't know where they are, our website is projectsouth.org. Let's talk, south2south.org. But I would say start the conversation, because a lot of times that is new, that's language that we're using. But the practice of mutual aid, even rooted in Black radical tradition, has existed. Y'all, I went back on the timeline on post-colonial time. In terms of this country, that is how our societies have had to contend with even enslavement. So I'm saying that because oftentimes we may not use the language of mutual aid centers and mutual aid liberation center, but you'll find within the conversation that there is something or entity that is playing that role. And so I invite you to not just those websites, but to reach out. Let's talk. Let's see if it's something that we know about, at least at projects out there or through the Southern Movement Assembly. But if not, you might actually be in a space where you can organize, and you can either highlight infrastructure that's already being there that speaks to a mutual aid process and just has not named itself a mutual aid center, a liberation center, or you can find that the resources are there to build this connection. of mutual aid. And the last thing to say that too is also thinking about wherever you are, who and what entities are responding to our basic and essential needs that communities know. Like that's the structure where we are, and within the Brownsville initiative, there's a garden, a Mosher garden. We do food. Community comes, grow food, gives it out. Wellness courses are there. Different type of classes are there. Disaster response are there. So before a community may even know that we're a mutual aid liberation center, they know what we provide and what they are a part of providing. And so I hope that makes sense. Check out the websites, let's talk, but also just do some research, especially in rural areas. I'm almost sure that most of us has someone or some entity playing that function, and they just don't know that they're a part of this larger network that is providing mutual aid for the purpose of liberation and building.
Thank you so much, La'Die. I see comments and I see a few other questions. We're gonna come to some of that. I wanna ask you, La'Die, one of the comments that I saw, someone was chatting about how the work of mutual aid feeds into the need to respond to sort of the demise of democracy. Like, how does mutual aid play into saving our democracy or responding to the fall of democracy? And I'm curious how y'all are thinking about that at Project South.
Right. So let me think about that question. One, I don't even have to think. When we look at Black when we look at Black Reconstruction in this time period, right? The need to create after 1865, but even before that, where you have formerly enslaved African people that are now no longer enslaved in the way that the government deemed before that, are having to create societies that speaks to social, political, and economic stability building from the ground up. I think that's significant because within that construction, mutual aid societies, as we name it, rooted in Black radical tradition, and at that time, were responding to a political, not just moment, but conditions that impacted the conditions of their lives. If we understand that and keep that as the basics of where our work is, then we don't have to do hard to understand the link between mutual aid societies and a response to the political moment and conditions it has created. That is the connection. Does that make sense? I know we can't see each other. But hopefully it does, because what often happens too when organizing people, right? Because we can't do this alone. Anybody that's building a mutual aid liberation center rooted in what I'm saying is organizing. We're organizing communities. And in organizing communities through political education, through these mutual agreements, through the response and the systems that we're building. For us, this is from long struggles and the need to have Black autonomy, freedom, dignity, wellness. That in its nature is political. But if we talk about that, then we're able to organize ourselves into a political process. It's not the opposite. That we're talking politics and expecting all of us to be like, oh, I'm down for mutual aid for a better life. That's not how it works, because we're already starting from a level of distrust. But if we use what we need and meeting our not just basic essential needs, but what we want to do to live, that conversation and that understanding will automatically address the political times. We're building governance systems within the structure. Those governance systems, are creating collective decision making. So I hope that makes sense, y'all.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We're both kind of choppy, so, so I didn't realize. So first and foremost, I want to say I am also a country girl. So big up to all the rural folks on the call, because I definitely come from rural South Carolina. But also I also want to big up y'all's work as well, because I want to name as well that Project South has also has also been moving through the Southern Movement Assembly process, but also beyond, as you were naming before, this concept of the People's Movement Assemblies, and also that are rooted in sort of these international People's Assembly processes that come out of the World Social Forums, and out of the Global South, wherein folks are practicing democracy with each other. And we have to be clear about what we mean when we say democracy, right? Democracy is not just what's happening in politics, right? Democracy is how we govern each other and how we govern with each other, how we build processes for us to govern ourselves together. And what a lot of us have been building, and especially folks who are engaged in thinking about mutual aid work and mutual aid as a form of liberation or as a pathway towards liberation, is the ways in which mutual aid offers us an opportunity to build parallel democracy, parallel governance, so that while we are, as La'Die was saying, we're engaging in the political process, but we are also practicing self-governance, so we can build our own institutions, our own alternative institutions, our own alternative democracies, so that we are shaping the world that we are trying to live inside of. And so I am very grateful for the work that that y'all do, at Project South, through the assemblies, through PMAs, through the assembly processes, and we'll see those things in different places across the country. So I'm going to jump back to some of the questions, and I want to also name that I saw there's a question in the chat around how to find out about things like this in other places. Now, I do not know who is behind this site. I cannot vouch for it, but I can say that it does have a lot of organizations on it. You can utilize it as a way to try to find folks and then see if those things are still, those projects are still active. But mutualaidhub.org is one place where a number of projects across the country are on a map. And you can try to connect to those projects, mutualaidhub.org. And then I also see folks who are saying, like, nobody talks to each other. How do I begin? And I want to reiterate what happened with Mama Fund. And I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell the story from my lens. COVID hit, right? And everybody was like, oh shit, what's happening? What do we like? How do we connect to each other? How do we make sure that our folks have what they need? And so I started a Facebook group, guys. That was it. I started a Facebook group and I hit up people and I was like, hey friends, what do you, who wants to join this Facebook group? It's not private, but it is closed. So you have to invite people and let's see, if we can offer resources to each other. And it was something like, it was so bad. It didn't have no nice pithy name. It literally was like Atlanta COVID-19 Mutual Aid and Response or some shit like that. Excuse me, something like that. And overnight, it was 2,000 people, 2,000 plus people, like overnight. And inside of that space, people just started to create structures inside. Like, we didn't all know each other. And inside of that space, people just started to create structures and people would ask for things. Hey, I have a disability. I can't get to, to grocery shop. Can anyone drop off my groceries? And somebody say, hey, I know I can drop off your groceries. I'm not far from you. And we created structures inside of the Facebook group that were like, people who are in this part of the city. This is how you connect with, like, let's connect together on this thread. And people in this part of the city can connect in this thread. And so people were just connecting to each other. And we built it just by being in community with each other. And then we began to see that people needed financial resources. And so once again, I say, hey, anybody doing this? Okay, who want to get on a call? And as Abby was saying in the video, we put together a call really quick one night, say, hey, literally, here's a Zoom link. Everybody who's interested, jump on a call tomorrow. I did not know a lot of those people. A lot of folks did not know each other. We literally just people got on a call. We said, what can we build? Who already knows things? Who has what kind of knowledge? Who has what kind of skills? And we built out this infrastructure. It's really like I think it started out as like maybe 15. There was a collective of about 12. We got clear on our politics. We got clear on our intervention. We got clear on who we were serving. And then we just moved it and we learned and we it was very emergent, right? The process was very emergent. As we did a thing, we responded to a need, we learned, we adjusted, and we kept pushing. And so I think I want to encourage folks to get into the process of just like fill a gap. That has honestly been my organizing mantra. It's like, I see a gap and I feel that. And I'm like, we can create a structure with each other to be able to fill these gaps. And so, and I see people asking about tips. And here's what I want to say for y'all. And this is the next step, okay? All of you guys who are connected to Women's March in any way, we will be having a multi-part training for anyone who wants to build a mutual aid project, especially and particularly through a feminist lens. We will be offering a training for people to come to 2 days. Here's what we did, exactly how to do it. Here's some toolkits and some resources. Here's a community, a virtual space where you can connect with other folks trying to build projects and support each other. So I want y'all to stay tuned, to keep your eyes peeled. This will be coming in the next several weeks. You will hear about how to get connected to this training. So I want y'all, if you are not already on our list, we encourage you to do that. If you are not following us on socials, go follow us at Women's March on everything, and you will be find the information for this training that we have coming. It will be this call. The purpose of this call, just like all of our organizing calls, is to give it sort of a one-on-one. What is mutual aid, and how can you also connect to folks who are doing it? This training will be. This is how you do it yourself, step by step, how to do it. So we want to let y'all know that we're doing that and invite y'all into that process. And then I'm trying to get to, where did you go to find financial funding? I can speak for Mama Fund, and then Lady, I know Project South has a different kind of structure, but I will say that Mama Fund got some grants, rapid response grants, but also we got a lot of small dollar donations and a lot of individual donations, like everyday people from across the city of Atlanta, sharing out the post and just donating. And so we encourage folks to put it out into the world. And you can absolutely, like, that is what we did. We were able to get some financial support from foundations, but in large part, we were able to get a lot of donations. Lady, did you want to speak to that question for you all for the mutual aid work y'all do?
Yeah, so it's a combination, and similar. There are grants, but there are also our membership, our donors, which are the communities that are basically local, but to our statewide, to national, to global, that are able to contribute. Right now within the Brownsville initiative, we are in a capital campaign. So that which is around the Mutual Aid Center, that has a specific campaign built around it, where there are details that tie directly to the rebuild of our Mutual Aid Center at 9 Gammon. But it has been a combination, and just to squeeze this in on it too, on our community and membership, and you don't have to donate in order to be a member, but for those that are able to, that has been a good way too, to be able to make sure we stay rooted. So just that tied with the questions of what you do, and I love what Tamika said, just start having the conversations with people. Call a group. I have what's called kitchen table discussions, where it's a group of people that come and we just have safe space to have the conversation. Oftentimes, when folks buy into that, they are now plugged into the process. They become contributors of some way. So just to say, sometimes that feels like it's very small because it's not a grant, but that can end up being a real big significant part of how you stay afloat in terms of funding.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I can give a little bit about time banking, but we will be, again, in the training that we do, it will be more like how to make this thing work. But even from the very beginning, we were, when we were just kind of moving money, because we knew that is what people needed in the moment. We always had a vision towards building out the time bank and building out an alternative infrastructure. But even in the very beginning, when people were filling out their applications, what we asked folks was like, what can you give? And it doesn't have to be like outside of money. Like some folks are like, and this is just basic organizing as well. Like I know somebody was like, had asked a question about learning, like, how to tap on folks' hearts. Basic organizing stuff, right? That's like, and ask people what they have to give. And that might not be like, I'm great at knocking on doors. I'm great at facilitating meetings. I'm great at phone banking, calling folks. It could be, I am a great cook and I can make the meals. You know what I'm saying? And so what we were seeing for folks, we're like, what do you have to offer? And people were saying things like, I can build websites. I actually am, I work in construction. And so that's the sort of first phase of it, is like assessing what is available in your community so that you can have a resource bank, a list of this person can offer this thing, and they're putting into the bank. And they want to, like, they are receiving something, but they also have something to give. Because what we want to be clear about is that mutual aid is not charity, right? Mutual aid is not someone from over here just giving me money that then I am now, beholden to. I have to pour my heart into an application. And so we had to be really clear about it. Mama Fund is I had to pour my heart out into an application to prove that I am worthy of charity. Right. That's not what we're trying to build. We are trying to build community. And so that is yes, offering your time and your own talents. That is the invitation for folks. And so when the Mama Fund folks are able to come and join us on this training, they'll be able to get into more of around the specifics of time banking, and we will make sure that y'all know about it. I'm trying to see. Lady, you want to talk about organizing this question here? What are some ways all of us here and those who believe in true liberation can have an impact in one-on-one conversations?
Ooh, very, very good, y'all, because all of this takes organizing. Like, we can't miss that part. So some ways is one, initiate conversation. A lot of us are wanting to come together. The conversation is what brings people into a process of being collective. So I would say one of the ways is just initiate it. Start small wherever you are. If you got a circle of people that are in person that can come together, just start having like tea, brunch, or something like that. If you're a part of a larger group, one of the best practice I would say is really looking at the assembly process. The People's Movement Assembly process is a good process to think about organizing and cultivating folks into a space that has the same goals, even if it's different ideals around it. Another one-on-one is get over, we have to, if we're thinking of ourselves as organizers, we got to be able to get over the fear of just the hello, hey, can I talk to you? Like and that is on a one-on-one call, reach out, just start it. And I'm saying that because a lot of times on the organizing side of it, we are hesitant to initiate. And the only way that conversation starts that can lead to more of a collective change, a collective group of people that are saying whether it's 2, 50, 100, 1,000, is because someone said something that pulled us in. We got drawn in, connected, and decided to keep going the course. And so those are some of the things. It's really basic, but society will make us think it's really complicated. And so sometimes we got to get out of the complication of it and just talk, and also find support for it. Find, like we're having this now, reach out to other people and just find support. Hey, everybody doesn't understand the term organizers. I found that the organizers that inspired me the most, the dopest, the baddest, the biggest organizers, most successful organizers that I know, never used the word organizer. It was my grandmother. It was the women in the church that I saw that brought people together. It was my aunties. It was my dad and the quartet groups that they started from the scratch. They never used the word organizer. And I'm bringing that because we have to get out of the framework that we've been given, because that is intentional. Just go out and say, how does all my people get to a Thanksgiving dinner when we don't like each other 11 months out of the year? And this 1 month, we all at this house and we sitting down, breaking bread together and eating like everybody been good the other 11 months out of the year. Guess what, y'all? Whoever called those people together and got your folks there, they were an organizer. That's what I'm saying. Let's get to the roots of it, because we got this. We just don't know we got it, and it's designed for us to not understand our power. And so that, hopefully that made sense.
Asha, thank you so much. I'm going to move us to close. I want to once again, thank La'Die so much. La'Die, can you tell folks one more time, how to get in touch with you, how to follow you, how to get connected?
Yes. So we'll put it in the chat. I'll put it here too. And thank you for also putting it there. There's Project South website. You can also get more on mutual aid. This is a radio interview on Hot Knot Radio. Shout out to them that Emery Wright gave. That's really diving deep into mutual aid. And then the Southern Movement Assembly is here. My name is La'Die. I'll put my email address also in the chat. Reach out, y'all. We got this. Whatever it is, we got it.
And then Amanda, thank you so much, La'Die. Amanda is going to drop in the chat how to find out about and get connected to Metro Atlanta Mutual Aid Fund, lovingly called Mama Fund. And so on behalf of Women's March, I know folks have questions. I've seen them in the chat. Y'all are like, what are we doing? What's next? What's happening with this march? So I'm gonna give you the rundown real quick before we get off the call. All right. Thing one, we have a series of a number of programs that are rolling out, and we want y'all to get engaged. This question in the chat about other things you can do. There are so many things you can do, and we want to provide you a lot of entry points. You, your friends, your grandmama, your auntie, whoever want to get down and want to be engaged in this movement, in this fight to build a feminist force against fascism, please join us. Please bring them in. And so here's the things you can get into. One, we have these women protection teams that we are building across the country. The training was just the beginning of this week. The one set of trainings. We will have another set of trainings next month. Am I lying? Am I telling the truth?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I'm right. We're having another set of trainings on how to do for women's self-defense and how to build women's protection teams that are rolling out next month. And in addition to that, we'll have our trainings on mutual aid, and those we will run once a quarter. So if you don't have capacity to get into it the next time we do the training, another quarter we'll run another set of trainings, right? And if for both of these, we are not just having trainings, we are trying to keep you in and connected and supported to help you be successful in building out these projects. So we will be building a number of support systems for you to be in together, to connect to each other, to connect to us, to ask questions, to help us troubleshoot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Shout out to Kim who came to the protection team training. We'll keep doing that. All right. We also will continue in the new year. We'll be continuing our digital defenders program. If folks who have not connected to our digital defenders program, it is our intervention into the world of misinformation and disinformation. We will be, it is a way to get trained on how to have conversations online with your folks. When you see them spreading misinformation and disinformation on the internet, it is a way to be that intervention, because we know there's so much, especially with the incoming president, with the MAGA forces, there's so much misinformation and disinformation. You can get trained up there on how to make interventions, right? That is digital defenders. We also will have the women's protection teams trainings, the mutual aid trainings are a part of a broader series that is called Building Resistance Trainings. We will offer a number of trainings for you to build your skill in these particular things, to build these formations, but also in how to organize, how to resist, how to protest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please, keep in contact with us, keep following us, because we will be having a number of offerings for you over the next year, because what we know is that we cannot be silent. We cannot be silent in the face of fascism. If Toni Morrison gave a commencement speech at Howard many years ago, and she listed out the 10 steps towards fascism. And that last step was for them to push people towards silence always. And what we will not do is be silent. And so we will have that offering as well. And then you already know, y'all have seen it, January 18th, we will be in DC. We will for the People's March. And I want to be clear, this march is a big tent march. It is a number of organizations that are part of a large coalition that is organizing this mobilization. One of those formations inside of this big coalition is the Time to Act Coalition, of which Project South is a part. We also have Dream Defenders is on the team as a partner. We have Sister Song is on as a partner. We have, oh my gosh, so many groups that are part of this big coalition. So we will be in DC and we will be everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean folks are like, hey, I'm in Germany. I want to stand up with y'all against what is happening in the US. So if you want to find out, please go ahead and the information is in there. And if you want to sign up to host, if you say, listen, I actually want to be, I don't know if there's something in my area, but I actually think I want to host maybe. You can email us at sister marches.
Yeah, but I also have some trainings.
Oh,
I can drop the link.
Amanda's going to drop the link for the trainings that are coming up for Sister March hosts in the chat. So we're going to start training folks. People can start signing up to host. And there's so much, like we have so much coming because what we know is that we have to be organized. Stokely Carmichael, we talk about a lady talked all about the Black radical tradition today. Stokely Carmichael talks so much about the importance of being organized, of being connected to organization. And that doesn't have to be Women's March. It can be Project South. It can be Mama Fund. It can be one of our partner organizations. We want you to get in where you fit in. It's what we say that every time. We want you to get in where you fit in. If that's coming to the march, let the march be the starting point and then find you a political home, good people. That's what we want you to be in. So come to the trainings, get skilled up, learn some things on January 2nd. Our mass organizing call on January 2nd will be about the People's March. So if you're like, I got questions, or I know some people and they might want to come and they want to know what's happening in DC at this People's March, January 2nd will be your opportunity to get in and learn. And then right after that march is over, we will have another mass organizing call that's like, and then what? And now what? What's next? So we want you to be in the work with us and be building. All of the trainings, all of the trainings that we're offering, all of the mass call, everything will be virtual. So wherever you are on the globe, you can come get down with us. All right. So there's a ton of links in the chat. Also follow us at Women's March on all the platforms. This video again will live. If you missed the beginning, it's okay. This video will live on our YouTube. We'll also upload it to our Facebook so you can still connect. So with that, as we like to say here at the Women's March, we will see y'all in the streets. Thank y'all. Have a good night.